much for being here. We have a light crowd today, so lots of vacations going on, and we might have some friends trickle in here, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here. Today's talk is about staying put or moving on. A lot of us want to stay at home as long as possible. And so today is not about trying to convince anybody to move, but to help us learn from our panelists to ask better questions. My name is Leanne Balta, and I am one of your organizers of Your Silver Journey. Welcome. We have some friends that have been here before. Raise your hand if you've been here before. Excellent, thank you. And new friends, raise your hands. Perfect.
Welcome.
Thank you, welcome, welcome. Before we get started, I would like our education partners to raise your hands. Raise your hands, okay. Yeah, Davis, okay. Our education partners are the reason we can be here today. So thanks to them, we are able to invite our panelists and reserve the library and be able to discuss some great topics. So thank you for being here, education partners. Appreciate your help so much. All right. Wanted to make sure that you saw in your chairs a couple of items. You'll have a handout for today's session, and on that handout you have our panelists' information. And you will have an opportunity at the end to ask questions, and so there's a nice place for you to be able to jot some notes. And then you also have a blue survey, and your feedback is so important to us, and so I would invite even our education partners to fill that out and submit that to Ms. Beck before you leave, because your feedback matters. I have invited an expert panelist here today to talk to us about all things staying and going and how to stay home longer and questions to ask. So thank you so much for being here. We have Dave and Lindsay and Kim, and I am going to ask them to tell you a little about themselves so you can get to know them as well. One of the reasons for today's seminar or our seminar series is so that you can have someone you know, like, and trust in your phone. So we want to encourage you, before you leave today, to stop by and meet one of our education partners, meet our panelists. When we're finished, after you've had an opportunity to ask questions, they're going to go back to their tables. And we just want you to put a face with a name, meet them. You can ask them questions. They will help you get to one step closer to where you need to be. Okay. Any questions before we get started? I said all that without my mic. Hopefully there's, pardon me?
We heard you okay.
Perfect. All right. Let's start with you, Dave.
Oh, this is in the order of the schedule. Oh, God, you're throwing me off. Okay, go ahead. All right.
Well, I'm going to ask you an easy one.
Oh, okay, all right.
How long have you been a senior assisted living locator?
A locator? It's
Yes.
8 years this past June. So
8 years.
We celebrated 8 years, yep.
And can you tell us a little bit about what got you into
Yeah,
senior
so
locators?
my father-in-law had a dementia diagnosis, and we were the family that either didn't heed the advice or just thought it was okay the way it was going. And long story short, after the Carmel Fire Department got called twice in 1 week, it was okay. My mother-in-law can't care for him. Where do we go? What do we do? How much does this cost? What's a good place? What's a bad place? And made the best decision we could. And 3 months later, it was not a good decision. We moved him for a second time. So shortly, I found out that there were people like me, so I opened assisted living locators, and that's what I do, is I help people navigate those options. So I'm there to be a resource, understand the differences between all of those senior living community options, as well as the individual communities, and I go on tours with them. So I'm a little bit like a realtor, but ultimately a senior living advisor.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly what I wanted.
All right.
I knew there was a story back there.
All right,
Yeah. Sometimes we all have to learn things the hard way. So that's kind of why I'm here as well. Navigating those tough times make you want to learn more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Lindsay, tell us a little bit about how long you have been. So you are a senior care manager. Yes. And so tell us how long you've been doing that.
So I'm the owner of Solutions for Seniors.
and I've owned that business for just a little over a year. But I have been a nurse for over 20 years and have almost 26 years in healthcare experience. And I kind of got into this, I was doing private nursing, but I also, I was a guardian for my grandmother, and during COVID, and that was tough, and there was a lot of hurdles and barriers. And being a nurse, I would see a lot of issues and gaps in care come in through the hospital, and then I did an outpatient stint too at St. Vincent. So my total time there was 25 years. So I saw a lot of things, and a lot of gaps, and kind of married all this together. So yeah, I've been doing this for a year, but I've been a nurse for a very long time. So all that background comes to play every day.
So over the last year and a half that we've been doing these talks, and as we've all talked behind the scenes, having a care manager, when you are released from the hospital and you have like a case manager that helps you navigate like how to get home, we were wondering who does that out in the field before that happens. Like maybe it's just mom needs some help, she's not been in the hospital, she's not getting released, but we need someone to help us navigate care. And so then we found Lindsay to be an expert on our team, so we're so glad that you do what you do. Ms. Kim, you are an occupational therapist by trade, and what do? You still work a little bit, you're retired.
I'm retired.
But you're still working.
I work PRN.
And PRN is?
I work just as needed. Pretty much I make my schedule. I'll say, okay, I work for 2 different companies, and I'll say, I can work these 2 days, and I only work 3 hours when I do work. So I work about 6 to 8 hours a week, just to keep my foot in the door.
And where do you work? No, well,
wait till you're my
we have to retire
then you'll
first
understand it.
before we-
We spend that much time worrying.
I retired 2 years ago. I've been a therapist for 30 years, and I'm kind of, I understand this because I'm in this stage myself. I'm almost 69, but I have a lot of experience in home health, and I've been director of rehab in a couple assisted livings. In the last few years, I've been mostly skilled nursing. So I have been in hundreds and hundreds of homes, doing home assessments, treating people in their homes through the years, even infants years ago when I did First Steps. So I've seen a lot.
You've really covered the gamut if you were in First Steps.
I've done it all. That's what keeps it fun.
That's awesome.
So,
And
then
who
I
are
did
you
acute
caring for
rehab
these
too.
days?
Pardon me?
Who are you caring for a lot these days?
Well, nursing homes.
But your mom?
Oh, my mom, she's gonna be 90, but her house is set up, she still is sharp as a tack. Her house is like your dream home. If you wanna go in and see somebody living in a safe home, this is it. And she's listened to my advice too, so, but she's had a lot of health issues, and she lives in Illinois, so I've been back and forth with that, so I can relate what a lot of you are going through, you know.
Thank you. We get to hear stories about how Kim's mom doing from time to time. So, yeah, she's in the thick of it right now.
Yep.
Well, thank you for being here, all 3 of you. Again, we are going to give you an opportunity to ask questions after I've asked several of mine. So don't forget to write them down so you don't forget them. Kim, my first question for you is, when you walk into a home for a safety assessment, what's the first red flags that you look for?
Well, as an OT, I'm constantly looking at everything. You know, you're just looking at everything. The first thing I look at is the entrance. How safe is it? How big is it? How safe is the driveway, the sidewalk? Is it wheelchair accessible, walker accessible? And from there we walk in, and instantly my eyes go to the clutter on the floor, which I find in seniors is usually a big issue. Lighting, rugs, cords, space from all the clutter, that the hall, there's no safe path to walk. And you get into the bathrooms, and it's lack of grab bars. And I will get into this later, but seating, we will talk about that later. Appropriate seating in the home is another issue. these are just my immediate big red flags right there.
Okay.
And I can go into more detail or whatever you know, at some point I have more to talk about that. I won't hog it all now because I could go on forever.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, we're starting to see fancy modifications being made to homes, but I wanted to ask you, what are some sort of cost-effective ways or modifications that we can make to our homes?
Well, surprisingly, there are a lot of inexpensive, simple modifications that can be made that people go, oh, well, I didn't think of that. Instead of thinking, oh, we need to get new furniture, we need to take out the bathroom, we need to do this. There's so much out there that's so simple. Lighting, let's just talk about lighting. That's every home I go into, there's a huge lack of lighting, and there's no reason for that. You can put a pole light next to a table or chair. There's so much automated lighting now, the sensory lighting that you can put in the hallways. I even have one in my bathroom now.
You
I
need a
don't want
brighter
bright.
light, a higher wattage, or just new lighting?
Well, I just have a night light in my room, so I don't have to turn a bright light on. But for older people, their vision's going anyway, and their balance is off, and they've got clutter everywhere probably. And chances are they've got light bulbs out everywhere, or they've got low dim lights. Just light that place up like an airport. Make it accessible. Make those lights accessible to them.
I never really thought about lighting. I mean, I think about rugs, but I've never really thought about lighting.
Yeah.
And
Put
it's
a pair of sunglasses on, rub a little lotion on there, shut your lights off and run around your house. This is how I've trained some of my students. Look at it from the perspective of your patient.
Okay.
You know, they can't see, their feet hurt, and their balance is off. And the lighting is huge. The biggest thing, rugs and cords on the floor, and I don't know what it is about seniors, but they love their rugs, and I think they think it's a safer thing, and 9 times out of 10, it's not. If they do have a rug, have it just where it's needed and make sure it's non-slip. You know, that the doors can open and close over it if it's necessary, you know, like in the bathroom.
You're talking about throw rugs.
Right, any kind of rugs, yeah.
rugs.
Yeah,
I like my rugs.
Everybody likes their rugs. I know, I had a chat with my mom about it. I have a few, but mine aren't like where you can trip on, make sure they're not curled up. I might as well do this now.
Okay.
I brought a demonstration last minute from home because I didn't know how else to explain it. The cheapest, most effective thing you can do, chances are you're gonna go into their home and they're gonna be sitting down on their couch like this. Their legs are up here, they're sitting in that deep, comfy couch, and they can't get up. So then they think, oh, I need a lift chair or something like that, which I'm way against lift chairs for multiple reasons, but they get in the couch, go ahead.
Well, you have to remember to tell us why you don't like lift chairs.
Well, every time you stand up out of your chair, it's an exercise. You're using your muscles. Every time you use that lift chair, the only muscle you're using is that finger. And let's not forget, I learned this from my mom, who has a lift chair, but she only uses it to recline. She doesn't use it to stand up. You gotta get up in a hurry. You can't. You gotta wait for that lift chair. You know, sometimes she'll leave the phone somewhere else and I'll call. I'm like, where is she? She goes, well, I couldn't get out of the chair. You have to wait on it. So, but the only reason you need a lift chair is if they absolutely cannot stand up. I mean, it's medically necessary. Otherwise, use those muscles. But here, and if any of you have ever had hip surgery, you understand this. Your knees are higher than your hips. For me to get out of this, and I'm pretty healthy, you know, for me, I'll have to lean forward and get up like this. So say you've got a pretty nice couch or chair or sofa, armchair, and you think, well, we're gonna have to get rid of it because they can't sit in it. Well, I just threw some pillows in mine, and I just saved you hundreds of dollars. Right here. So here I am, my hips are above my knees, and I just stand up. I didn't have to use my hands. The other option, my own couch was sinking. You can, on Amazon, buy boards to put under the cushions that'll flatten it out, level it so they don't sink in. There's also risers that you can buy at the hardware store that the legs, the foot, you know, that on your couch, the legs will sit on it and elevate it. You'd have to see what goes with your couch, but there are a lot of options without getting rid of all the furniture. And the other thing, armchairs, always armchairs. Everybody needs armchairs, because if they can just use their arms, they can get out. Not so safe with a chair like this. And sitting down, they need to be able to sit down, use their arms. So
That's what I call a cost-effective
Yeah.
strategy there. Thank you, Kim. Nice. Dave, did you bring any demos?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
well, it's so hard to explain that to
It
people.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. And I could see how your hips were either higher than your knees or lower than your knees. So thanks for showing us that. All right, Miss Lindsay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so we just talked about making some modifications. And then Kim talked about not using a lift chair until like you absolutely needed it. So how do we know when it's time, when the modification no longer is really working? How would we know that?
I would say focus on safety first and falls. If you're having frequent falls or tripping over the things, ER visits for various reasons. Other safety things that I think come into play are beyond like furniture and things like that, or like medication management. If they're taking medications and they don't know what they're taking, or they're taking them at the wrong time, or they're set up but they're not really taking them even if they're in the pill box. Those are all things that reinforcing other things to help allow like medications to be given correctly. Those are when modifications need to come into play also. Let's see, trips, I made a list of things. Oh, cognitive impairment, yes. Wandering or getting lost. The other thing too is even just like hygiene and are they eating, things like that. Those are all things that kind of need to be surveyed when you log in and check on them. Or if you find that those are reasons that, they're weak, they're not eating, or they're not getting the groceries. Those are all things that need to be assessed on whether or not this is continuing to be a good environment for them.
So we're looking to make sure that the medication is still essential, that it's not expired or taking too much. I think we've learned at some talks about
Yeah.
too many medications, or just kind of keeping an eye on that.
Yes.
Making sure they're eating, the food's it's not old,
It's
it's
not
getting
expired, yeah.
consumed. So looking for good nutrition.
Can they prepare a meal?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask, like, who in here, hi ladies. Hi. Who in here is taking care of their parents? Okay, or it's coming maybe. Okay. I ask this because, again, my own kids, they're saying things about me. I mean, so I can only imagine, like.
They've already called me.
I guess I'm like, maybe just a sign to as an advocate first in your parents, be careful how you talk to them.
Yes.
Like, definitely be careful. I think that there's a way of observing some of these things. I just wanna make sure that we're just careful about that, because it's easy to get your feelings hurt as someone who's aging.
I have something in a handout about that.
You do?
Yeah.
Like what? Like, yeah.
Well, let's just get back up here. Cause it's, I a balance between safety and dignity.
Yes, thank you.
It is what it is, and you wanna try and avoid criticism and reduce defensiveness, because they'll really get the stubborner they get, you know? And, you wanna develop trust with them, but, you know, it's about the approach, like, here's one, for mobility and fall prevention, check for loose rugs, blah, 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 we went through that, ensure lighting is bright enough. Ask an open-ended question when you're assessing that. Would extra lighting make things easier here, or, frame questions as comfort improvements, not corrections. You know, you've gotta think, sometimes it's hard for me to rephrase it, because I'm so used to working with my patients and having not be criticized. You know, you try and you encourage them, think positive, put a positive twist on everything.
I think it's challenging too, because when you are caring for a friend or a neighbor or a client, you will speak to them with more dignity than you may
Your own family.
your own family.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, avoid implying forgetfulness, focus on simplifying routines. You know, just think kindness and dignity. How would you want somebody to speak to you if you were in that place? And it is hard when it's family. It's very hard when you're family, because
That's why I ask. I just, as we sit here and talk about, you know, how to stay at home longer and how to make sure, or you know, how to learn to ask the right questions and rephrase questions. I just think it's important that we remember that dignity. And if you haven't heard me talk about David Solly's book on how to say it to seniors, he has a really great way of rephrasing. Not even just rephrasing, but really understanding the aging process, so that you do understand it and you think about it more respectfully. And so I just wanted to make sure that we include that when we're talking.
Yeah, like for the food, you can always, nutrition's important, you know, we wanna make sure you have protein, how are you getting that? And just asking those, exploring what they say, and you find out a lot.
Yeah, what kind of recipes are you enjoying these days?
Mhm.
Yeah. How do we problem solve for getting those groceries?
right,
Or,
that's
yeah.
a big one right there.
Yeah, cooking already isn't so much fun, even at 60. Like, single cooking is just not a lot of fun. So, yeah, put me some, never mind. There are some opportunities for, even when you're ready, before you need to go anywhere. The 55 and over community.
Well, and I think too, like, even if they're not ready to go, and maybe cooking is an issue for standing too long or something,
Yeah.
bringing in those resources to keep them at home, but allowing them to still have access to food, so.
I did just get a text today. One of my clients, that has recently transitioned to senior living independently, still wanted some support with cooking, because like me, I just, don't really enjoy it and don't want to. So JJ from Home Instead has been able to send someone in just to help, just to help cook.
Yeah.
Just to have somebody to talk to and enjoy that cooking process with. So, yeah, there are a lot of options. I did cut you off several times. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that, Lindsay?
No, I just think safety is huge, and just kind of figuring out where the gaps are,
Yeah.
and asking all the questions in a way that makes them not feel like they're less than, but to ask them in a way that is more exploring for their safety.
We're gonna talk some more about aging in place, but I want to temper that a little bit with you, Dave. Like, what do you hear from clients that are maybe shopping or looking for housing for their parents? What are they coming to you with concerns?
I think one of the biggest that comes up regularly, especially since COVID, is just the isolation. They'll notice mom or dad has just stopped seeing friends. They're not going out and doing their regular things and things that they used to enjoy. So they're pulling back, and that usually kind of signals some sort of cognitive impairment, like maybe they can't follow along with the conversation, or public places are too overstimulating for them, and so they just kind of pull back, and their world gets really small and very, very simple. So that's one of the biggest ones. And then you have the other ones that the house is just getting to be too much. They're not keeping up on the house. You know, you start to notice maybe a change in the gait a little bit. They're walking a little bit different. They might become furniture walkers where they're holding on to everything to go around there. Always encourage, you know, families look at the mail. Are they going through the mail? Are they updating that? Are they paying their bills? You know, get creative a little bit if you have to, and go into if they've got the AM, PM thing, and make sure you're not seeing a little white pill on the floor of macular degeneration, as they're thinking they're taking them all, but you know, they're missing them. And another one, Sue, kind of a little bit with the cooking, check those pots and pans and see if there's any that are scalded. You know, are they leaving the stove on or missing things like that? So, all of that.
I never even thought about those things.
Be sneaky.
Be sneaky?
Yeah, check those
Don't be
gutters.
obvious?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
I'm gonna be institutionalized immediately. If they go through what my drawers look like.
Make sure I clean my kitchen and everything before they come to visit.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. You have a lot of those conversations, I'm sure, that, how do you navigate that? I know that wasn't really on my list to ask, but do you have a lot of conversations with the aging adult and their children? Like how?
9 times out of 10 it's the kids reaching out.
It is.
Yeah, they're the ones that are feeling the stress, or the grandkid reaches out, because they're feeling the stress. They're the ones that they're now turned into the case manager or the social worker, or they're getting into a diagnosis that they don't understand, and they don't have a care manager to help them navigate that. Or there's been those 3 a.m. phone calls where they've fallen and had the trips to the ER, and they're like, okay, how do I deal with that? So that's majority of the time. In 8 years, honestly, I think I've had 6 seniors call me and say, I think I want to move.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
It is mostly the kids.
It's most of the kids, yeah.
And then how do you move through that process? Like how does the aging adult receive you after getting them?
Well, you know,
Knowing your
so-
kids have just ratted them out.
I just stay out of it. No, you know, I try to help them understand, you know, this is what it is and this is what it is, and here, you know, the more that I can engage them in the conversation and the more that I can learn, then I can guide them to really like the best 3 or 4 options that are going to fit. We can do all of that without mom and dad knowing. Like they don't have to. We can figure out what's going to be their roadblocks or what's going to be their pushback or ways to approach them. The more they tell me about mom and dad, the more that I can say, well, you know, I had a situation where dad didn't realize, you know, he just didn't. He thought that everything was great and it was just burning the daughter out.
Yeah.
And so he was a longtime military guy, but he ran like all the supplies. So she laid, I have my notes are on these spreadsheets, but she went through and laid everything out for him to see financially how he really wasn't gonna end up paying more than, you know, than he was being in the house with having care and all the maintenance and taxes, and was like, Dad, this would be great, look how, and that spoke his language, and he was like, oh, well, I didn't know that, wow, this is great. And so all of a sudden the wheels turn. Sometimes it's, you know, the financial, sometimes it's the emotional. The other side of it is like, I'm stressed out, Dad, I can't do this. Or Mom, you know, I want to be a son or a daughter again. If we get you in a situation like this, then we can hang out, we can go shopping, and we can do stuff. I'm not taking you to the doctor's appointments and following up with insurance and, you know, doing all of this. We've spent too much time doing that and we don't have a lot of time. So sometimes it's that, but having those conversations and then figuring out the best way to bring mom and dad on board. I mean, it can't be an intervention. You know, hopefully you allow yourself some runway and you can plant those seeds and talk to them. What do you want? How do you want to age in place? What does that look like? And get their buy-in, because you can modify the house and widen doorways and put grab bars and bring in care, and then that all is going to cost money. So having that conversation as soon as possible will create a much easier transition, because I'm sure Lindsay and Kim, you've dealt with that too. Mom's in rehab and they're discharging her Thursday, she can't go home. Well, that's not a lot of time to make a really important decision.
It's a hard stop,
Yeah.
And it's happening more and more often
Yeah.
because of insurance.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's happening quicker, a lot more quickly than it used to.
So this is our second series, that we started just a little less than 6 months ago for those that are new. So it's still small and picking up some traction, but we have a senior living series the first Monday of the month. And we have typically about 30 seniors, and we talk a lot about planning in advance. And so I always thought, you know, as we've worked together for the last several years, and I have asked you about this, Dave, I was like, I thought that as we think about planning in advance, that we would have more seniors want to do bus tours.
Yeah,
Like, I thought we might plan a couple of those this
Yeah.
year and just like, hey, let's get 10 to 12 of us together, go to 2 or 3 of Dave's favorite places and learn and, you know,
drink, drink some wine.
we've heard good things
Sign
about
me
the
up.
food and drink.
Yeah.
And so that in our planning for our kids, we could, oh, okay, if something happened, if a crisis happened, and I had to go somewhere, these are the 2 or 3 places I'd like to go.
Yeah.
But we haven't had that happen yet.
No,
Nobody's really asked us,
no.
sign us up for a bus tour.
No, and I've done them, and I think that the first one that I did, I had maybe 10 people that went, and I was like, all right, I'm on to something. The next one, 4 months later, I promoted it, and it was myself, Judy, and 3 other people in this big old bus. So yeah, I mean, there is a stigma about it, and that's just part of the education, and, you know, pat yourselves on the back for coming here, and
Yes.
just understanding that everybody thinks everything's a nursing home, or they don't know the differences, and, but understanding what that is before you need it is just so important, because you'll be able to make a better
My name's
decision.
John Meaden.
Hi, John.
Where are the people that should be here? Where are they? And what are they gonna do? I mean, I had a nursing home practice for a long time, and it seems like it's always emergent admission, like somebody just can't go home. They come into emergent, they fall down, break bone, whatever it is. Where are those people? And why aren't they, I mean, I dread it
Yeah.
personally,
Yeah,
but here I am, you know, learning about it.
yeah, yeah,
So there's more of us, like me, it's the largest cohort ever.
yeah,
So, much of what we're talking about here has to do with the numbers. There's never been so many,
Yes.
wearing out all at once.
right.
We're all wearing out, I'm wearing out. And so I'm not what I used to be, and so neither is anyone else.
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer to that.
It is, we're all thinking about it all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, I don't know, you guys see that a lot, I know everybody fears the nursing home, that clinical environment, they probably saw their grandparents in 1971 go there, and that's what they're trying to avoid, but they're missing this whole steps toward, that not everybody ends up there, and so they think, well, I don't wanna end up there, so I don't even wanna deal with it, so I think that they just don't have that conversation where when they do not make those decisions, that they're getting closer to that because they're not being safe and proactive and understanding.
Because back then, there was no assisted.
There was no
There
assisted
was, there
living.
was either home or nursing home. There was no-
Ah,
It was the late
see.
90s that came to Indiana.
That's a really great point. That's what a lot of us did see, because there wasn't the different steps. And you may never even get there because of all the proactive steps that you take. The socialization, the nutrition, the exercise, yeah.
It's gradual, this decline of ours, it's gradual, and then it happens all at once. I mean,
Yeah,
Ideally, I guess we could just gradually decline, and then die in our sleep at home.
In a perfect world, right?
Right, but, you know, sometimes we fall, and when they get us in the hospital, we think, oh my God, there's a lot wrong with you that you didn't think was wrong with you.
Yeah.
And so you don't have any reserve, and then, you know, we have to make adjustments. But,
So you said you were in the senior living community. You owned the,
well,
or you worked,
I didn't
you
know.
assessed them.
You know, I mean, people call me, you know, they say, Betsy's resisting care, you know, what can we do, you know, it's like, stuff that I've seen in nursing homes, you know what it's like in nursing home environment, they treat patients roughly and of course they fight back. And that's kind of stuff that, so I did it just for psych reasons, so I didn't do any of the physical stuff. So, that's what you see, that's what I see, obviously the approach makes all the difference, so really, if you work with elderly, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
it is, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't, this is for the children and the aging
Yes.
adults. But what I see is a lot of these people, they don't have advocates. A lot of people don't have family, they don't have adult children. I'm a prime example. It's my brother and I, neither one of us have children. When something happens to my mom, who's still got it all together, but, she's failing, it's just him and I in two different cities, and he counts on me to fill him in on my mom's health. So who's gonna be my healthcare advocate? Who's gonna help me make that change? And that's another thing that we don't look at. Everybody here, you've got family you're taking care of, but what about those that don't?
Right.
And that's another thing.
People
I'm
like
gonna
to
ask,
know.
I've got a lot younger friends who are in healthcare, and I fully intend on discussing it with them. Seriously, I'm gonna need a POA, I'm gonna need somebody to make decisions for me at some point in my life,
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of those people are. A lot of those people don't have those families, or those families don't understand how important this is. They're not there yet, so they don't see it yet.
Two things. Betsy has had a family member that didn't have children already come to her and start making plans because she's thinking forward. Yeah, our Betsy. And then Lisa. Lisa is someone in the community that for years has been helping navigate. Do you want to just say just a little bit about
Yeah.
what you do?
We serve as power of attorney. We have a lot of clients who don't have family, or they don't have family
Okay.
close, they never have children.
Yeah.
They're widowed, or children are out of state, they don't have anybody here to serve. So we serve as power of attorney, trustee, executor,
I didn't know what to
healthcare
tell.
representative as
Okay.
well. So
Yeah.
I've been doing it for about 10 years, just joined the Storin team. We've got a new business at Storin for financial wellness
Okay.
specifically.
Other people know about you.
That's why she's here. Yeah, that's what we
Right
want.
now, this introduction,
Yeah.
we have not done a lot of advertising at all yet. And so, since we know the need, and it's great, which is why I
Yeah.
joined Storn and we started this business, cause we need to grow. Because, there's not enough of me and, trying to do it independently for 10 years.
Right,
And
yeah, there's
For
a
the reasons you
reason.
just explained.
And even if you do have children, it may be safer to have an advocate.
Oh,
So,
yeah, and all of us have seen that.
Yeah, for sure.
as
We're
John
going
just
through
alluded
that.
to, yeah.
Yeah. That point is so extremely important. And just from my perspective, you guys have all said it well, but just having an advocate, whoever that is that you identify as your advocate, is so important.
Yeah.
Just seeing my parents in a nursing home, going to the hospital with them, going to the hospital with a lot of our clients, you gotta have even if one of us goes, we've gotta
do.
have an advocate.
I have
but-
a client right now, he's, in the hospital, he went in over the weekend, and his brother's in California, his other one's in Florida, and he has 2 children that are in college, and I'm his person.
You're his
So-
person, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
and I had the whole backstory, everything for him, cause
Yeah.
he also is deaf and he can't.
oh, wow. Yeah, just add, I just had a conversation with someone that talked about the challenge of being deaf as a senior and not being able to communicate all your needs at a vital time. So we just take a lot of that for granted. We talk about that a lot too in our senior living series, is how to write out those plans so that when you have an advocate, they're following a plan that you've already established for yourself. Kim, we talked about families, objectively assess, how do families objectively assess their home?
Well,
Besides looking at burnt pans and
Right.
moldy mushrooms in the refrigerator.
There's several ways. I was gonna make copies and didn't, but there's some sheets in the back that have 2 online websites. One is AOTA website, that's American Occupational Therapy Association, the other is CDC. And these are standardized home checklist assessments, just simple. This one's not so simple, this one's pretty simple. But the website's on there, you can pull them up and look at them, and it kind of gives you an idea of things to look at. But I highly recommend bringing someone in, be it home health. That same paper, I listed someone I pulled up just randomly that is, where's my paper here? It's called In-Home Preferred, and they're a licensed occupational therapist and certified aging in place specialist. And you'll see that a lot, CAPS, CAPS. I think the CAPS focuses more on redoing the home, remodeling the home, making big changes. But an OT, they specialize in that. They can go in and talk to you at length about things, just things I barely touched on today. And they can also assess the physical part of it, the cognitive part of it, and they can be that go-between too, and they know how to soften that blow.
Some things are better
Yes.
better said by somebody else, yeah.
Even outside the family.
Outside, yeah, outside
Yeah,
the
somebody
family.
outside the family.
So you mentioned in-home preferred, and it was really neat that you found them. We've had them as guest speakers, as panelists. The ladies, there's 2 of them, they partner together, and they will go out to the home and do an assessment and make a list of things to do, talk to the client about it, and then they have a contractor team that they can do those changes, or you can have your own contractor do them.
But they don't necessarily, I have
How
a,
to do those big things.
yeah, they don't have to be big things to stay home. I couldn't afford to go in and remodel, take that back, I am doing my bathroom right now, but most of my clients don't have the money to redo their bathroom or widen their doorways or put a new front step on there. And there are places that will build ramps for you. You gotta search a little, but there are places. But there's some easy things like a bed height. So a bed's too high. I have literally cut the legs off a bed, taken the mattress and put it on the floor, so it's high enough, because everybody buys these beds where you need a ladder practically to get in them. That's not safe either. Bathrooms, you can have grab bars installed by a professional, don't do it yourself, it has to be done right. There's shower chairs if you don't have a walk-in shower. There's tub transfer benches, so that it extends out over the tub. You sit on it and slide over, you don't have to step in. Handheld shower hoses, toilet seat risers, bedside commodes. There's so much that you can do. The big thing is clear the path. The clutter, the lighting, the grab bars, clear a path. Get rid of the junk, get rid of the cords, get rid of the rugs. Lower things, make sure things are accessible. Like in the kitchen, get rid of what's needed, put things down low, plates and cups, and if they're gonna use pots and pans, make them within reach. Have a chair that they can sit on while they're cooking, so they can rest in a table. And, a lot of people wanna be able to transport things like laundry and that, so they'll get a little cart. If they've got a rollator, there's nothing they can do. Nothing better than a rollator. Put a basket of laundry on, take your dinner and sit on the couch and watch TV. You can sit it on the seat of the rollator. But if you got junk everywhere, it's not gonna go.
What are your,
Yeah, Jerry, yeah.
what are your thoughts about stairs, multi-level houses?
Well, that's a whole nother issue. Yeah, and I think that's a question too, that's again when you need the home assessment, and it's based on that person's physical ability, cognitive ability. Can you move a bedroom to the first floor? I've had a lot of patients where the family made a bedroom downstairs, even if it's not a couch, but a bed in the dining room, and they have bathroom access. And those are the things you have to look at, and you have to make the decision, can they make that? Could they make it if they had rails? Can you afford a stair lift or not? A lot of people say, they talk about stair lifts, what a great idea, well, they're not cheap. You know, and a lot of people can't afford that. Is there room? You get in so many of these old houses, and these doorways and stairways are narrow, and it's hard to maneuver. You know, and if they can, put a walker at the top and put a walker at the bottom, and if it's safe. Every person is different, and you have to assess each one's strengths and
Well,
weaknesses.
what about the hidden hazard? Once you stop going upstairs, you lose your ability to go upstairs unless you're out doing heavy exercises at the gym.
Yeah, I mean, people in the blue zones are
It's just like
walking.
with the lift chairs.
Yeah,
Once you stop getting up out of the chair yourself on your own power.
I agree
You're
with
gonna
all,
lose that
I agree
muscle.
with what you're saying. Don't forget physical therapy, occupational therapy, they can help you make those decisions. There comes a time when that's just not safe anymore. But if they can stay strong enough to do it and do it safely, by all means.
Yeah,
By
that's
all
great.
means.
What's the
I-
blue
I-
zone?
the blue zones, has anybody else heard of the blue zones? They're parts of the world where, people are living beyond 100, and so they've been sort of analyzing what is it about those blue zones that create that environment. A lot of it is nutrition, it's community, I think they used to think it was nutrition and the physicality of those areas, but they have since, increased their opinion of the cognitive development of those areas, because they're still very much in community, living in community.
I think for anybody who watches Netflix, I think
Yeah.
there's a series or
Netflix,
there's
yeah.
a show on Netflix about the blue zones. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, and they've updated it. There was the blue zone several years ago, and then there's one that's been updated, and that's how I knew that the living in community, the eating together, the breaking bread,
And
the
that's
drinking
what's
wine
happening.
together, you know, having fun together is really the most important, one of the most important things. It's like everything else follows. If you're getting up and going to a friend's house.
Yeah, the movement.
Yeah,
Movement was a big
yeah.
part of that, yeah.
And a lot of these people who are staying at home are limited in transportation, you know, so they're stuck at home, and that's their social life, you know, they don't, that's what I see the most, is these people, they don't have a lot of community, they don't have a lot of socialization.
Which goes back to you know, when those things are happening, when you're not going upstairs anymore, when you're not socializing, not waiting too long to sort of bring those things back to maybe living in that community environment. And to your point earlier, that gap that we saw where we were living at home to senior, or, you know, we called it nursing care, and now it's called skilled nursing. There are different environments.
And there's no one answer here.
Yes.
I mean, staying active is key. Do the therapy. I can't tell you how hard it is to talk people into doing the therapy. You know, do the therapy. And if you have to bring them into the home to do the therapy, ask for help from whoever will give you help. Anybody sitting here, the people that I talked about on here, the in-home, I forgot the name of it, in-home preferred.
Yeah.
You know.
Government-wise, is it better, would they prefer people stay in their homes or house them in nursing homes?
Well, nursing homes aren't free, so the governments they're not waiting to pay for our senior living care. There are a lot of programs out there on how to age at home safely. And there's a lot of programming out there for caregivers of those that are caring for their seniors at home, their aging parents at home. I think that's the preferred, that's just my assumption.
Yeah,
is that
I'm just-
there's so
I'm
many
wondering.
resources out there, and we wanna make sure that people in this room know where to get those resources, cause sometimes if you don't have any resources, you know where to go to get those resources. But we live in a community where some people don't need them until they need them, and then they don't know where to find them. And so that's a part of what we're doing, is linking people to those resources. So in the answer to your question, I think the government, from that, they would rather see a SAGE in place.
Just wondered, I think at one point, years and years ago, putting people in nursing homes was preferred. But I see the trend now, it's like staying at home. My mom stayed at home, my aunt stayed at home, my stepmom stayed at home, I plan to stay at home.
Absolutely. I plan to stay home as
Until it's safe.
right. And we really are talking about those safety issues, for sure.
And back to the socialization, I think too.
I was gonna come back to you on that, because I really want you to talk a little bit more, you're in the home with families.
Yeah, so I think even if they're in the home and they're seeing their family, it's a different type of community when you're talking to friends and other seniors your age and you have something in common. It's a little different when you're staying 4 or 5 WC, but when you have someone that can go out and play cards with other seniors or bingo or talk about
Or mahjong, or
whatever.
it's called.
It's a different type of socialization, and it's, I guess, healthy because it's allowing you to talk about things in your brain work rather than the same 4 things, like what are we having for dinner? Did you take your meds? Like it's,
Right.
you know, but when you go out in these communities, you see them doing, I mean, I've seen so many cool little projects, or they go on a bus tour, not to, not to tell places, but they'll go out and, the other day, the senior community, they went to Culver's and got Sundays, and I don't know, it was just something, they all looked forward to it, cause it was something they got to do as a group, and then they all talked about, like they had July 4th stuff, they've had, I don't know, just things that they enjoy, the conversations that they don't always have at home.
At home, yeah.
And those are things to look for, as Dave will tell you,
Yeah.
when you're looking at
Activities.
different facilities, because different facilities are better at it than others.
Yeah.
Right.
Much better
Well,
at it
and
than others.
that's why, I would call Dave.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna know the backgrounds and what's
Yeah.
going on and management and, I just wanted, Lindsay, I wanna go a little bit deeper with the family in the home. I guess, what do you see as people start to get to that narrow, like we're getting to the point where it's not safe?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see happening?
Depends on who's involved, if it's,
Do you have a sense of that it's coming? Do you?
oh yeah.
Okay.
And the family dynamics is always, difficult. And I feel like a lot of times it does take someone outside of the home to bring those assessments in, to bring some truth to the situation and provide resources, or having a meeting where everyone's kind of like, what's the goal here, not what you want or what, not, when I say that, I mean like the adult children, but like what's safest for mom and dad,
Mhm.
having those conversations and being realistic. Caregiver burnout is huge. It's very real, and not only is it just a tired feeling, it's a physical, emotional, it's all the above. And, I'm seeing that right now with my own family, where especially my mom, she's caring for my grandmother, and she's feeling the stress of it. But I think just coming together, having a real conversation about what's true, are we safe, are we not? What if mom falls, what if dad falls, what's that look like? Are we gonna be in a crisis mode because we don't have a backup plan? Or can we bring in resources at home? If their plan is to stay in place, then what does that look like? Is that feasible financially? Does it make sense? Are they safe? Do they have rugs? All the things, I think just doing that full assessment, but sometimes the family stuff, we just have to put that aside and focus on what is actually happening and what's true,
So there are assessments that can be done to make the home safer, to extend that time at home. We know that there are non-medical professionals that can come in the home and do a variety of support system depending on what the person needs to also extend that time at home, which is super neat. Dave, one of the questions that I had for you is, what level of care misunderstandings do some of that cause families to make a delay? We talked about one today about maybe in their mind they're thinking
The nursing
the
home.
nursing home.
Yeah.
Do you spend a lot of time educating them? and
Yeah,
letting them know
that's still like the number one thing, is getting people to understand assisted living is licensed different than a nursing home. So really trying to drive that home of what an assisted living can do and when that move to a nursing home might take place. That's one that is reiterated over and over again. And then you get a little bit deeper and then you find different assisted livings do a different levels of care. So it's really hard to navigate that, but really then just really getting into it, getting the families to understand when those levels change in assisted living, what the cost impact, the fact that they're in the driver's seat, you know, and how to navigate that. That's the biggest one, because we all want lovely amenities and great places, but it's so much of it just boils right back down to financially. Is this doable and for now and for the long term? So.
Dave has a chart at his table. When you leave, I would encourage you to go by his table and get it. This isn't it, it's something similar to
yeah.
this. But it really helps, and I do like yours better,
No.
by the way. I don't know why I don't have yours digital
No, it's
right
all,
here.
it's all good.
But it does really help when you're starting to think about the variety of communities that we have choices in. It does help to know that, you know, there's this 55 and older, and then there's independent and what independent means. And then Dave's expertise lies in that assisted living, is that?
Well, independent assisted and
Independent
memory care, so I don't do anything over here.
Okay,
For that.
yeah, so these middle three are his
Yeah.
area.
I think that, you know, I'll have families that'll say, we need to find a place for mom, but she's independent. And I said, oh, so you want to look at independent living, you know, why are you looking at independent living? Well, the house is getting too much, and you're like, okay, yeah, independent. And, oh, well, mom's having trouble managing her medication, and she's a fall risk, and, you know, that's
not
assisted
it.
living. No, well, she doesn't need assisted living. Well, I know, because you're thinking that it's nursing home. If she needs help with some of these things, that's assisted living. And so people always jump to that conclusion because, well, mom's living on her own, she's independent. But if she needs some help, there's nuances to that. There's no staff in independent living if mom falls. There's no staff to make sure that that medication is the right one that she should be taking. They can do reminders. So if you're looking for a move that's gonna provide 24/7 nursing, take over the medications so the kids aren't running around and getting, that's assisted living. And getting that headspace, you know, around people's minds is hard.
It is hard.
Yeah, I get it. I
It's
mean,
like
yeah.
having an
Yeah.
artist try to understand accountant language. It's, yeah,
And that's why you need more time to
process.
process it and
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah.
So.
I wanted to see, I want to go ahead and open it up to your questions, yes.
Do you find that when you're educating families on this, do you encourage respite?
You know,
Stays?
yeah, sometimes if that's an option, like if maybe mom or dad's not on board or the family just needs a break, yeah, that's a great, kind of get in there and kind of get the rhythm of it, make sure that they like that. 90% of the places are gonna require 30 days
Okay.
with assisted living. There's just a few that will do 14.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's a financial commitment. Are they ready for that? Do they want it to be 30 days? But that is a great option to go, hey, we can just get a furnished apartment. They've got availability and you can kind of get into the rhythm of it and then no obligation. The majority of the communities that are out there are month-to-month leases. So they're not like a long time commitment. It's basically just a lease agreement.
Really?
I would imagine that's that onboarding process, you know, I only imagine the questions that would need to be asked and answered
Yeah.
to be able to fully care for someone.
Yeah.
I bet that's.
Well, yeah, and it's paperwork. They're
Yeah.
licensed by the state. They ought to do the same amount of paperwork for
It's a great question.
long-term.
Yeah.
So-
Gary, Oh.
Yeah, are these, assisted, or month-to-month apartments, are they all set up for seniors, like with washer and dryer on the first floor?
Not for assisted living, some do, some have washers and dryers in them, some of the more newer ones do, but it's basically, it's residential living, it's an apartment, usually a refrigerator, microwave, your meals are gonna be provided in assisted living, they're gonna do housekeeping for you, transportation, activities, visiting physicians group. Again, there's people, there's not a ton of them, but they work in assisted living. Maybe they have a part-time job, they drive, but they want 3 meals, they want their housekeeping, they want it off their plate, and they know that they can add care as they need it. So that's what it's designed for, to feel like you're living in an apartment, not a clinical nursing home type environment.
I'm hearing something at odds with each other, that's staying at home and being isolated, not being isolated. So my mom, 94, she is living at home, and we do our best to not have her isolated. She still plays cards on Friday and golfs, believe it or not. But there's less and less of her friends.
Yeah.
And if she's at home, there aren't trips to Culver's except with me,
Right.
So how do you access that?
There are also day centers.
Yeah.
We don't have them on here at all. But there is, Boone County has a senior community center where they can go and meet people, and I think the sooner they do that, the sooner they can meet people and it be more comfortable. But that's certainly an option.
Where is it?
Lebanon?
I've seen it.
There's called Prime Life.
The Prime Life.
Prime Life in Carmel has one
Oh.
too.
Are you talking about the one that's on 39, right in, is it, 11, Main Street?
Yes. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, Prime Life has like activities and exercise and different things, and they have lunch, they serve lunch 5 days a week, and they've got volunteer opportunities and things like that. I called bingo there, I think back in January. I still have like nightmares about it. It was so intense. And they take their bingos. I never had to have an app, and I didn't know all the different, there's like American flag and all these different games that they play, and I was not calling it fast enough. I was just like, okay, I like left, and like went home and had a drink. I can't do this. This is so. I was like, I can't do that. Don't call me again. It was terrible experience.
It's like, I want to help, I just can't.
Yeah.
Joyce's Place is another one.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Joyce's Place?
Is that where you're?
Do they have transportation?
Prime Life, I think they'll come get you.
Yes, yeah, they'll come.
I think they do if you live in Carmel.
Carmel, yeah, I
Okay.
think you'd be, Hamilton County.
But
In a certain area.
Yeah.
Boone County, I think they have.
I was gonna say, I think Boone County Senior
Yeah.
Services has transportation to help you get to activities.
That might be it. Have you ever heard of Boone County Senior
sure.
Services? Oh.
Mhm.
Oh. Had you been there, or just not?
No, she's not. She's thinking she's just fine at home.
That's the problem, that's
Yeah.
the real question, is how do you deal with the psychology, the mentality, when it's resistance, no. Okay, then you have to, there's some, I think I saw something here, how not to be the bad guy or something.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about that driving,
Sometimes that
So,
physician is a good
I would
advocate.
say, yeah.
Sometimes having that physician, do the assessment for you and bring in the OT person to say, you're no longer safe to be here, or this isn't. We need to
It's not
reinforce-
safety though, it's more cognitive, is that what you're guys are?
But you
Yeah.
have to kind of spin it to a way that.
Yeah.
Well, but as the child of the patient, how do we have that conversation
Yeah.
with the physician so that they will have the conversation with
The
the parent?
portal.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, if I don't have legal access to talk to her doctors, what are our options then? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, a lot of times, you can go with them
Yeah,
and,
I've done
make
that.
some
That's not what I
suggestions.
used.
There's certain,
Yeah,
I've seen people follow the physician out to go to the bathroom and have that side conversation, or
gotcha.
the same thing with the person that comes in and does your vitals at the beginning, just step out and run to the restroom and
Okay.
say, we're here and this is what we're seeing at home, and
Mhm.
mom's resistant, and I need some reinforcements or some.
Okay.
Are you legally or POA?
No, and she's mostly okay, but it was after, my dad died about 18 months ago, And my mom is recovering from lung cancer, and so when Dad died, my sisters and I started going to her doctor appointments with her just to make sure that there was a second set of ears. And she did not like it. Every doctor's appointment, she started with, my daughters think they need to babysit me, and so finally we just backed off.
I mean,
It's that
wouldn't
sort of-
hurt to have
She
everybody
doesn't
needs a
need,
medical POA, and then you have a little more power, somebody does to speak to that
right,
doctor.
but if she
outside.
isn't willing to grant it
Yeah.
yet, we still
So-
don't have the option.
So, I'm gonna refer back to David Solly's book. David Solly talks about control.
How do you spell the last name?
Um,
Sorry.
I actually had a copy of the book
Oh.
somewhere. David Solly.
Okay.
If you, probably David Solly, if you, how to say it to seniors.
Let's see.
I bet you he'll come up.
What is it?
Okay.
How to say it to seniors. He talks about control, and when you think about it, who doesn't want control? 2-year-olds want control. And so if we have a period in our relationship with our family members where we're slowly gaining that control, or there's a struggle for that control, or we're saying things that take away that control, it makes sense that they would start to dig in for that control. And they literally cannot move forward cognitively if they are struggling for control. And so we really do have to develop a relationship with them, help them lower their guards, or help them take on that perceived control. Does that make sense? Like, we have to figure out how they feel in control, giving them choices. And I don't want to say being manipulative, but we have to be, I would just encourage you to read David Solly, and it makes me want to go back and read it again. Because his own mother wouldn't move on, and he's like, for 10 years, they really did not have a good relationship, because Dad was gone, she had stairs in her house, and it was like in the city, and she needed to move on. She would not move on, and then so finally he said, fine. If you're not gonna move, we are going to safe-proof this house. And so he got contractors out, and they started to put quotes together to get the house safe for her. New roof, all stair lifts, all the things. And when she saw that bill, she said, no, I'm not spending that money on this house. And she was ready to then.
So we have a geriatric doctor.
Do you mind if I ask who that is?
Well, it was Samantha Kay at IU, and she's had a baby and she's not coming back, so going to a new one, but, I do have POA, and, I do have access to her portal. They call me before I go to a doctor's appointment with her to ask me, what am I seeing? And I also put things on that portal, because, if I say something in front of her, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
So those, we have been proactive in many ways, but, some ways she's very happy for me to just do everything for her. In other ways, not so much. So, yeah.
My mom and dad they're pretty prepared, and with me doing this, they're real sensitive to that. But they had me and my brother's POA, and I said to them, I was like, hey Mom, do Chris and I have to agree on everything where we split? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. And I was like, oh, I was just curious. I go to Leanne does this, and just curious question. And then I asked her something else like a couple months later, again, it's not an intervention, but I just threw it out there again, and she's like, gosh, you're learning a lot. I don't know. I thought your dad and I have all that together, but I don't know. And then it was finally like the third time I asked her something about it. She goes, you and your brother are gonna be here in July. Should we just meet with the elder law attorney and talk? These are great, I never thought about that. But I slow played it, and I just kept dropping those seeds in there. And then when we got with the attorney, she wasn't defensive, but she was like, oh my God, I'm so glad we talked about that. I had no idea. So maybe some kind of approach like that with your mom. You don't want something to happen to your mom and nobody can make a decision
That's
for her.
just what I was gonna say.
That's just like, that's the last, and I know she doesn't wanna be like that,
Yeah.
but it's probably that control, so
And
how can
do
you
the
find a
same.
way?
Yeah.
I have one.
Yeah.
Say, I'm preparing my documents.
Yeah.
You do something that way.
Like, did you know, Mom, that, whatever, did you know
Yeah.
about this? Like, yeah.
Yeah, cause really,
Book is
everyone
really good.
needs.
Easy.
I found it on
Easy,
Amazon.
oh, good, easy read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
everyone, I don't care how young you are, needs
It's so
medical DOA.
true when you think about it, the control, and then I'm 60 and I'm already like, again, the daughters are already saying these little comments, you know, like, Mom, sit down before you hold the baby, cause you're kind of clumsy, can you imagine what it's gonna be like when I'm 80 or 90? So Vince will have to fight them off of me.
You might have to give them that book.
Christmas gift.
Mail it anonymously.
Don't call you up.
I've heard lately, I don't know, it comes up on my feed or different things about how a family member can be paid to take
Yes.
care of an elderly grandpa parent or something like that. How does that work, and is that something that you look at?
I think they have to live in the same house, right?
I think so,
Yeah.
And that's.
But if you have
I
somebody
just
in the
talked to
family that would be
somebody-
willing to do that, do they have to not have a job? I mean, is that?
I think, and I don't know how
Oh,
much
we have a friend that we
Hey,
network,
not that I have a job, but.
the boomers, she's on the board with you. Maybe if we put them in
Vicky?
Vicky, yes.
Yeah, I think there's a Medicaid tie-in with that.
And VA.
Yeah, there's that, there's the guide program, through Medicare, that if you're caring for someone with dementia, you can get support up to 72 hours a month,
Yeah.
to get that, Medicare pays for that. It's not, I don't think it's forever, but it is a relief, that there's things like that. You just have to kind of ask, and like Leanne said, oh, we know somebody, so just ask and we'll.
Yeah, cause like the VA pay, this was yesterday, I had this discussion with one of my patients. They have, I believe it's her grandson, lives there full time and he gets paid, but she also said, yeah, he works in there from his computer. He has a job he does from his computer in the other room too. So I don't know the details, but she said it was through the VA.
I don't know the details. It's what I do, I help veterans get benefits from the VA, and what you're talking about it's called aid and attendance. Where a veteran has a service-connected condition, or maybe more than one, and they have to be found to need somebody there to monitor their medication, make sure they eat correctly, and don't walk out the street and don't get into a fight with somebody else, and they could get approved for aid and attendance, which is extra money per month. But they have to have a service-connected condition.
And serve during wartime.
Well, not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
But,
Just in the service.
and then they have to be found eligible for that, which requires somebody coming in and making an assessment. You have somebody coming in and making a physical assessment, or somebody coming in and making a psych assessment, like if they have PTSD or whatever. So, but it's true, but it's for veterans only, it's not for
Yeah,
other
this was
civilians.
But there are
Medicaid does.
Medicaid does some
Yes.
things, yeah, so if family members are on Medicaid,
You
there
could
are
probably go to
programs
the
that
website.
teach them how to become, to go through the process and then to get paid. And that's what Vicky's company does.
Center, no, yeah, I'll
The-
get it to you.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
blanking on it.
But that is interesting, it is good to know that if you have a family member that's, aging in place and they're on Medicaid, there are dollars for them to pay for a caregiver. So, yeah, good question. Again, not a lot of people know where to find those resources.
Right, I was like, well, I didn't catch, where do you go to get that information, you know?
When we network, there's probably 5 or 6 in the room that we see. We tend to get to know caregivers, non-medical caregivers, and then there are people that are teaching people how to be compensated for caring for their aging parents. So it's good.
So you do know somebody who does that?
We do, yeah,
Because I think was a big need for that.
agreed. Yeah.
So many people are working from home, so that would make it work for quite a few people.
Yeah, but the Medicaid is the.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta make sure. it's
Yeah, I didn't catch the part that Medicaid was involved, I thought it was just anybody.
Yeah, I do think it's Medicaid, otherwise it's private pay.
Yeah.
throw a few things out. I wanna go back to some things in, a couple of other areas, and I know this is off what we're talking about, but I feel the need to throw this out there. Other things you need to look at is like access to laundry. Is it downstairs in the basement? Is it, can they get to it? Can they safely do it, or do they need help with it? Mailbox access, can they safely get to the mail, or you guys can bring it in, or they have a friend that brings it in? Pets, can't tell you how many patients I have because they fell over their pet and broke something. That's a biggie. Do they have to let them out? Do they have to walk them? Are they safe to walk them? Life alerts, working smoke alarms, any kind of low vision strategies, large letters, bright colors to help with instructions, keep it simple. And then latest and greatest, smart home monitoring, lighting. I have a friend who, they're going through a lot of issues with her mom. They need to get her in assisted living. Right now they've got a full-time caregiver in there, but she's alone a little bit, and they have a camera and they see everything she does and what's going on. You can even have, just motion detectors that let you know when they're on the move. So there's a lot of other options out there. And a big one that I see people come into nursing homes with these, they bring their shoes in, their family brings their shoes, and their slippers that are too big, too loose, falling apart. People need either the non-slip socks, or they need a good solid shoe with a non-slip bottom. Take a look at your loved one's shoes. If it's worn out and leaning over the side and they can't keep them on their feet, or they're sliding their feet along to keep them on, that's not good. That's a fall hazard. That's a big one right there. Everything I give you today is cheap and easy, and then there's always the expensive way to go, with the steps and redoing a bathroom and doorways and all that, but that's out of my realm.
Good. Thank you so much for that. You have some really good information. Any other questions? May I take on you, Rock?
What if that person whose shoes aren't so well refuses a hearing aid? Okay, so I understand what you're saying, it's all very good.
I'm
See,
not
I'm at
saying
the
all
wrong
these are
class.
perfect.
I'm at the wrong class, I need the class on the psychology aspect of it, maybe this book, I can't wait to
And
read this
honestly,
book.
that's the hardest part of all this, the psychology part of it
Well,
is
that's
the
why
hardest part of it.
I was hoping we'd talk about that.
Yeah, that's, you learn with practice when you're in healthcare like we are, but when you're a family member, it's different.
That's kind of using the position again to.
Yeah.
I just got something called the memory board app. It's an app, and it's a screen at home. Do you know what it is? It works great. Instead of me saying, "Don't you remember? You got this." Whatever. I can put on this board in her kitchen. Hey, great day for golf. Your tee time is at 12:26. Or hair appointment today. I'll pick you up at 9:10. And it stays on there as long as I want it to stay on there, so she'll see it. Because there's a calendar there, and we don't necessarily look at that calendar. Then there were notes next to the coffee machine, we didn't necessarily look at that, but this is of sufficient size that she sees that.
What is it?
It's
What
called the
is
memory board. It looks like, just like a computer
iPad.
screen,
Oh.
and then the app's on my phone or whoever.
Does it help you change the language to a positive way?
Absolutely.
Well, it does whatever you want, it'll say whatever you wanna put in there.
Yeah,
But the problem is, again, that's all well and good, but I would like to see what she has to say about it.
Well, it is, no, at first it was like, what is this?
Right?
And
There
I'm
you go.
saying, that came up because she called me for church on Sunday morning when we had gone Saturday night. Forgotten. And I was like, oh yeah, we went yesterday, we got your car wash, we went to whatever. And that's when I'd been looking at it and that's when I bought it. And I said, hey, the reason I'm doing this is because I forgot to leave you a note saying no church tomorrow. So then,
Put it back on you.
but yeah, so I took it.
Perfect.
I took it, but at first it was like, but then she liked it. So now she's okay with it.
There's
Well, I
also
was like, what a sweet way to be given those messages too.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's a very kind way of getting that, the psychology of it, that's
Well,
really a great perspective.
And you know, it's a lot easier to be a keyboard warrior over here across the street than in front of her, cause sometimes she is stuck on something and I said something I thought was innocent and it wasn't. And
Yeah.
around and around we go,
Yeah.
so.
And I think too, there's, just back to electronics, I have a client that lives in assisted living and he is, a diabetic and his blood sugars kinda go array. So when I cover for his daughter, we just, hit the button and he doesn't have to answer, it just comes on automatically. And he's always in the recliner, so we know. And he doesn't have to answer it, and we just say, can you push your call that your blood sugar is getting low based on your app, he pushes it. It's just another way of
Yeah.
having connection and using those tools.
And,
Well, the same way, where's your, there's little stickers next to her bed, her chair, her bathroom, where's your phone? Is it in your purse? You know, that say that, but she doesn't necessarily pay attention to it. But this I can say on there, hey mom, tried to call you, give me a call when you see this, instead of, why can you answer your phone?
Right.
Well, she still has to find it.
That's true.
That could be in her back pocket.
That's true too.
I do that.
That's why your kids are correct. We all have to start this earlier. We all have to start, because when you get to that point, they're resistant and they don't really understand, they're scared, and it's a bigger problem. So if you get it out now, it seems to me, I mean, I'm late to the game, but
And what do you mean by that? You mean rephrasing the way they're saying things, or?
have an understanding that there is gonna be an end. Everyone wants to go to heaven, no one wants to die. There's gonna be an end, and we gotta prepare for it now so that we don't fight about it later.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm,
I'm sorry.
No,
We had a conversation with our daughter, his daughter, that said, we are 70 years old.
easy now too. Come on now.
Almost, you're there.
I told you.
That, hey, at this time in our life, we are fully cognizant and we're telling you this. We don't want you to go through what we're going through. We get us in the best place you can get us in that doesn't impact your life negatively. Period. And, handwritten, notarized, attached to the will. Attached to the will. So that, you know, I know we're probably crabby too, so at least, you know, they can look at this and not feel guilty that they're making a decision that isn't necessarily what we're.
And what a blessing that's gonna be, absolutely.
All you have to do is go through it.
Extra meds, please.
All the happy pills you can give me.
My wife, made me get hearing aids, and, I didn't want to, I said, you're the only one I have trouble hearing.
What?
But now, I got them on right now, and I love my hearing aid.
But the problem,
Then, if I had somebody who was resisting the idea of getting hearing, I would say, I hated the idea that I needed hearing aids, but now I've got them, and they're great. I turn them up all the way, I can hear what you're thinking. That's not true, but it would be a way to say, you know, I was that way, I was just like that, but now I really like it, got used to it, I love it.
And you can also, you know, say, is it your mom, or mother-in-law? You can just say, you know, can you wear your hearing aids when we come over so that we can have a better conversation? You
it's
know?
well beyond that, unfortunately. I
She's
mean,
94.
three times, just the other day. What are you talking about? And it's like, that would be a perfect time for me to, you know, I've read that book and artfully said, well, you know, it might help if, you know, you had some amplification on hearing aid, right? But, you know,
Well,
I
and at
checked it out.
94, I'm not so sure how well she could
It's not gonna be received.
manage that.
Well, that's a big
technology.
issue with hearing aids that I see, you know.
But don't they have them on glasses, something in the ear,
No,
return?
they get complicated as they get older. I mean, here's my favorite story. I was rehab director in assisted living, and then this lady was very hard of hearing, and she wore hearing aids. And one day she comes in to the therapy room, and she sits down, and I said something to her, and she goes, huh? I go, where are your hearing aids? What? I got closer, I said, where are your hearing aids? Huh? And so I get right down there, I said, where are your hearing aids? Oh, I don't need them anymore. My favorite story ever. So this is, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I know that.
It's almost like, okay, you wanna walk and fall down and go back to the hospital, go ahead. You know, why are you fighting me about this garbage can thing? Go ahead, knock yourself out.
That was a throw rug in the garage, cause it stays cleaner. And then bringing the garage, yeah.
It gets tough. It gets tough. I just want us to all think about I already feel like the loss of control. And so just imagine years and years of just those rights and privileges and, you know, your energy, as John mentioned, you know, just all slowly leaking away. And I will probably be mad as hell as well.
You know, if you really think about it, you get old enough, you realize you never had it control anyway. You know, that's why it's just so silly.
Very wise, very wise, yeah.
Well, to
We
stay
have to
young
go.
and fit, I'm going to a dance fit class.
So please fill out your surveys before you leave.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, friends. Please fill out your surveys before you leave, hand them to Miss Beth. And don't forget to RSVP for next month when we talk about, it's on the very last page, we're gonna talk about, the driving conversation that no one wants to have.
I've been driving for 75 years, I already taken my driving license.
You have?
You know I've been in this.
Maybe you should be on the panel.
My girlfriend, she's driving
You gonna bring her?
Absolutely.
Yeah, bring her next month.
And I had forgotten it was on a Monday, I brought her on Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. You guys are here.
No.
That's why I missed the one.
Oh.
Okay, you don't have signed up drivers.
She'll get it.
Okay, I know, yeah, she knows she's coming.
I've been,
Dave, you got your mic?
I wasn't even.
And, no, but as you have a
Okay,
private.
maybe that's the bathroom.
He's
I didn't mean to